Hello, what's happening? So, quick intro before we get into the video today. This one is both me and Chrissy, don't worry, it's not just me. And we have a conversation around 3 things that we see really working right now. It's a question that we get from a lot of our clients, almost daily, I'd say. So we thought we'd make a quick video about it. It's just 30 minutes, we choose 3. Obviously, there's a lot more than 3 things that are working right now. But we wanted to be able to go quite deep and actually give specific examples from companies that we see implementing this and how it's working. All 3 are low budget, relatively low effort, and something that you could just get started with almost instantly. So check it out, hope you enjoy it. As a side point, we're experimenting with some new audio setup here, so there's a few little bumps on the table that you might hear. Apologies for that, but hopefully you don't notice it. So yeah, enjoy this forward episode and we will see you on this one.
So bear with us. But I did have a thought, because I know we talked about, what we're going to talk about tonight. We were chatting through last night, but I did a Peloton run this morning. And one of the things that the instructor was talking about was, right now, especially some of you, Netflixing and chilling, like that feels good. And, if you're relaxing and what feels comfortable, feels good. But what feels uncomfortable, a lot of the times we shy away from. And I think marketers right now are feeling that level of discomfort, but wanting to still feel comfortable and do what feels comfortable to them. Mm-hmm. And I think we can't approach our marketing like we're Netflixing and chilling. We need to step it up and try new things.
What's the opposite of Netflix and chilling?
Just pushing hard through a Peloton run. Hitting a good time on your miles. I don't know, but something that feels uncomfortable when we're pushing outside of our normal limits. And when we do that, I think from a marketing standpoint, we're pushing ourselves to try new things. And yes, we might fumble along or we might learn from that and we might need to change. But what is happening right now is all of our normal techniques that we're doing, like email, and relying so much on email because our other channels that we also are comfortable with, like in-person events and C-level breakfasts and lunches and all that, just aren't available to us, but we still need to hit our numbers. And so now is the time to think about what are new channels that we can do, what are new things that we can do. And yes, it might feel uncomfortable or it might be a little bit scary trying something new, but what we're doing right now just isn't getting the same results. So what a better time to then try something.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I guess a lot of people get a bit stuck in their ways, but there's some companies out there I think that are definitely pushing forward, even before all of this coronavirus thing happened, and then I think you also find that when this situation has happened, those companies, they have that momentum that carries them through, and they can, a lot of the channels and the work that they were doing, they can continue doing it and it still works, right? It's like, because it's stuff that it's just really engaging to their buyers, and regardless of if their buyers are heavily distracted, they're still going to engage with it and with their channels and content. So
yeah, you bring a good point. Like, if there was friction before to get to engage your process, there's massive friction now. And if you were just always putting out valuable content and building your brand, and I know this is a topic we're covering a lot, but I think this comes up a lot right now with my clients on the calls is, we need to potentially, do something different. What new channel should I invest in, or what? And a lot of it is not even investing in it because they don't even have more budget. Right. So that's why I think we wanted to focus on what are some things you can do where it doesn't mean you need to reinvest budget. It's just new tactics that you can do outside of email that can help break through the noise.
Yeah. and it's not necessarily like a channel as maybe more of an initiative, marketing activities, and it could leverage multiple channels.
Totally.
But do you want to say, I guess the point of this was to really get into some examples, right?
Yeah. Well, let's talk about the first example. So, one company that I think has, done a great job at treating their prospects and their customers as really an audience that should be entertained is Gong.io. And I think their main channel for doing this right now is LinkedIn. They have a lot of great content that they put out, like on their blog and their website. But one thing that I think that other companies could take a page from or example, and not to actually copy them, but just the idea of entertaining.
Mm-hmm. And when you say entertaining, you don't mean only entertaining, right? Educating and entertaining. Those two things aren't mutually exclusive.
Yeah, and I think there are moments though when you can just entertain.
True.
To really balance that out, because that is something that builds trust. Like, you want to follow them. You want to see what they're doing.
Mm-hmm.
Funny videos with your kids or little like songs or whatever. Like, that's a good break from your day, and you're willing. And sometimes when you are going to LinkedIn for a little break in your day, you kind of are looking for a level of entertainment. It doesn't always have to be something that's educating you at the same time. But yes, having the balance of both of those.
And they have a very fun brand, so it's very natural for them to post fun stuff as well. But if your brand is a little bit more corporate, I don't think you have to then always feel corporate-y. I think you can really be a bit more fun, especially on social, right? Yeah,
and I think LinkedIn is a good platform for that. And one thing that you can have the flexibility to do that is to really use your employees' LinkedIns as the channel for sharing those that content. Yep. So different people at your company can kind of be a face for the company, but they're working hard, and so why not kind of show off the things that you're doing or support the company and have a voice that's shared, and that's outside of your company page, which yes can be a bit more corporate, but being able to use your own platform and own voice to share something a bit more fun and engaging is great.
And that's what I think they do really well, as well as Drift, and there's some other companies out there. I don't know kind of how they've operationalized it, or they've got the whole company to do it, but it's not just like one person posting something. They've got sometimes I go onto LinkedIn and it's just like gong because maybe they've done a push or something, and there's loads of posts. But I'm not complaining. Like, they're all good and interesting posts and interesting content. So I think for companies that are looking to get some brand awareness, get people more into their brand, all this stuff impacts the funnel, right, in different ways. It can impact any part of the funnel, right? You get the awareness at the top of the funnel, but you could be influencing purchasing decisions at the other end of the funnel. But try and at least find one person who's going to be that, your evangelist on LinkedIn, on social, who can be, commenting on other people's posts, going around posting their own interesting content and developing an audience on those channels. And it's pretty much free, right? Apart from time isn't free, obviously.
Yeah.
But you're not spending, tons of money, which obviously might be something that is a little bit harder right now. It doesn't take a ton of time. Maybe they just carve out half an hour each day to do it. And that person, people engage with people, right? That's why, a lot of companies don't send emails from the company, they send it from a person. And it's the same on social. Your people's accounts are going to get more traction than your company account, because there's something just about people, right? That you just look for experts and you look for people, and it coming from a company account, I mean, you're maybe less inclined to engage with that. So find that person, and then build it from there. Find maybe a few people that can develop that audience there.
And I think the key thing there is authenticity as well. I think you want to find the people who are wanting to do it, willing to do it. And, everyone has their own kind of what we call women in revenue, like your superpower, like something that is just you naturally can do and is like your edge that makes you different. And for some people that could be entertaining. And, look across your organization and see, are there people that are naturally good at that? And maybe say, hey, we want to leverage that superpower that you do have, and let's use, your give you that platform to do it. So.
Yeah. And marketing is all about trying to find where your buyers are, right? And it's likely that some of your buyers are going to be on LinkedIn. Obviously, depending on who you're selling to, it might be different, but there's always exceptions to every rule. But there's going to be some of your buyers on LinkedIn, and they're probably and LinkedIn is a platform that's growing. They're probably coming back, at least weekly, maybe daily, and having a presence there is important. But then the second one I think that we've noticed is I'll give the general concept, and then I'll talk about the example. So trying to leverage other people's audiences, and this isn't anything new, right? But trying to find either strategic partners, companies that are similar to you, thought leaders, people running podcasts, people doing online events, etc., and getting someone at your company to again be that evangelist there too. It could be the same person that you're promoting on LinkedIn. Again, it would be just an additional layer on top of that. And that person's kind of the lightning rod to get energy into your company. But I think a company that's doing this well right now is Sendoso, and their CMO Dan is speaking on a lot of things since he's taken over that role at Sendoso. A lot of webinars, online events, etc., podcasts, and I think that one you're getting you're able to leverage audiences that you don't already have, right? So you speak on 10 different things in a quarter. That's 10 different audiences that you wouldn't have been able to maybe get in front of without that. 2, you're coming at it with an authentic, you're trying to help, right? You're not trying to sell. So you're not coming on there and talking about like buy my product. You're talking on whatever the concept and the content that is relevant to that audience. But as a side point, right, like the company name's there and you're getting that out there. So again, it's just that additional layer on top of what you're doing, and you're able to expand your reach out into different users and different audiences.
Yeah, I think, leveraging that concept of community is something that B2B marketers can, take a page from B2C marketers. We all, kind of scroll through Instagram and we see, different brands working on campaigns together and trying to, get each other to follow each other, or having, Instagram live panels or, things like that. Yeah. And that's that concept of, finding, like-minded companies or people that are targeting the same group and leveraging their audience so that you can build a bigger audience. And so B2B marketers, we can do the same thing and, help build our audiences, like you said, in that way. And
yeah, and I think it's so easy, but it's hard. Like just find, like every company has, surely, I'd be surprised if there wasn't. Every company has that articulate person, maybe who's been there a while, right? Or is new, right? That is super into what you're doing, who is able to speak about it. A lot of times it's good as well if that person is aligned to, like their role is aligned to who you're selling to. So for example, like Sendoso is a great example because Dan's CMO and they're selling to marketers.
Yeah.
So if you can find that alignment, I think it's great. Like if you're selling to IT and maybe your CIO is that person, because it just provides that, I forget the word, but it provides that like that authenticity, right? Like you're the buyer and the seller at that point, and people really believe what you're saying. Doesn't have to be the case, right? Like you can have anyone. It could be your CEO. It could be someone in marketing, it could be someone in product marketing, it could be a sales, whatever. It doesn't really matter. But every company has that person that can be that evangelist and go out there speaking, leveraging the audiences and doing the stuff on social. So
yeah,
and it's an easy thing to get started, right? And you don't have to be all in and put a load of budget into it. Just dip your toe in the water and get moving.
Totally. And I think this has to do also going back to the level of entertainment, but also building trust, and the person that's closest to like what your product does and sharing those best practices. Another point on that is they are able to articulate cool things that you can do with your product, or even show it off, like what you can do on LinkedIn, like what Gong does as well. But because I think this whole smoke and mirrors and, having prospects wait to see your product until they're in a cycle or a demo, I think those days are over. People want to know, like, upfront, what can your product do? Oh, what's that cool thing? Oh, that's awesome. I actually want to look at that. When it feels like you're hiding something, I think that's where prospects are a bit like weary, like, what are they hiding? Why can't I see things? Why are you not showing off like how you're using it? And
the data that you're getting out of it. I think that's where Gong does really good. They post a lot about the insights that they're getting out of the Gong platform.
Yeah.
Right. Like, say this type of words or this type of objections on calls, means that for an X% of deals, like maybe they'll close faster or slower or have longer deal cycles. And every product and company out there has examples. Like you've got people using your product, you've got people out there within your market, and I'm sure you can draw insights out of kind of the use of what you're doing, which can provide insight to other people regardless of whether they use your product or not. And then it's implied that if you use our products as well,
totally,
this is going to be good. And then tracking it as well. Like, obviously we're heavy on the marketing ops side, and it doesn't, a lot of time people think about these things like, oh, great, but how are we going to see if this is working? But actually you can totally see if it's working, right? If you're posting stuff on social, use your UTMs. Same with doing these webinars with other people. A lot of time maybe you have list sharing as well, tracking all that all back, and you'll be able to see the success of these additional channels that you're adding.
Create a custom page with like a vanity URL that you can shout out at the end of your podcast that you were on or at your event. Yeah, there's totally ways that you can actually then capture those people. Because we know the end goal for a demand gen person is like, yes, brand awareness is great, but I need to generate some demand and leads, and but do that in a way where the person's giving up their information or converting, like we said before, where it seems natural and when they feel like they should. And
one thing Luke said last week on our podcast as well, if you want to go deep on some unconventional content ideas, go check out our last one. But it's about the laid, I forget exactly again, like the phrase, but the laid back kind of consumption of content, especially now where people are stressed out, maybe don't have the time looking after their kids. They need something that they can consume easily. That's why podcasts are great. That's why social is great. And also it's just easier to get these things stood up, right? It's very easy to find the person in your company that can be the evangelist, try and get them on some podcasts or some webinars, and then get them to maybe help ghostwrite some posts for them in partnership with them. You want it to be authentic, right? So you want it to come from them, so don't like completely write it for them, but just to get them started. And it doesn't require a big budget. You're not creating big long ebooks. It can be quicker, and it can provide just as much value as some of these bigger initiatives, but with very little budget and not much time too.
Yeah, definitely.
Should we move on to the third one then?
Yeah. So just to recap so far, so the first one, entertain, find your evangelist. Second one is leverage on social. Yeah. Second one, leverage other audiences and, have yourself share best practices. That could be one person or that evangelist or a group of people, and, promote yourself on other audiences like podcasts, their webinars, and so forth. And then the third one is...
You go.
The concept of, hosting these small niche kind of virtual events. And I think virtual events is something that everyone's like, shit, we can't do our events. Okay, now we're doing a virtual event. And that's not what we're talking about here. Like just, turning everything into basically a webinar. But really thinking about, okay, now our only way to really get in front of people or really have this even concept of networking is giving them kind of that virtual platform to do it. And so one company that's kind of done this in a way where it feels a bit fun and engaging is Everstring. And Matt Amundsen has a new campaign. It's a drink with, and every Wednesday at 3 p.m. He has a drink with someone virtually, and you can log on and watch them talk about their drink, and also talk about, topics that are in alignment with whoever the speaker is. And I think that, taking a step further, you can even have smaller virtual event like meetups where you're really getting maybe C-levels together. Maybe that's a C-level at your company kind of hosting it, and they're sharing ideas with someone. And maybe you only have a certain amount of spots there that they actually need to commit to, which I think is good, because in order to get people to actually attend these things, is there needs to be some skin in the game, I think. So if you're saying, okay, we only have 7 people, really want you there, you're going to be able to network with other CMOs, CIOs, CEOs, that's going to be a lot harder to, not attend than a webinar. Someone's trying to get on your calendar, you're like, sorry, I got to go to that webinar at 4. That's a bit of a stretch when you're like, sorry, I need to go to this CMO roundtable where there's only 6 of us and I've already committed. Sorry. So that you're more likely to actually, get the person to attend. And that's a really great platform to really understand the person. Like, what are their pain points, and their networking, which I think a lot of people are missing right now, that sense of networking, learning from other people at their level. It doesn't have to be C-level, but this is a great example for some of you who are really struggling. Like, how do I get to those buyers? Because that maybe budgets are being cut and you really need to go directly to the person that has their hands to the budget. And so we are thinking about C-levels right now as well, but end users is great too. And I think that, and you can talk about why it's great for prospects, but I'll say, even before you start to do one of these for prospects, is maybe test it out with customers. If you haven't done this before, and all of these things, if you have done it before, figure out ways where you can really test it out first, where it feels a bit less scary. And so maybe having like a virtual meetup for your customers, and, sending them a gift card or like a DoorDash e-gift or Uber Eats or something, get some food or drinks, and everyone meet up and talk about how you're using your product, or, what's top of mind for you. And that's even a great breeding ground for understanding topics that you can use for a prospect meetup, for, even if you want to go bigger than these meetups and then finally have a virtual event that's broader, you have this list of topics that you can do. But, start with customers first, learn from that, get your feet wet. They're going to be a bit more forgiving if you have a few hiccups. Yeah.
And I think the difference between these smaller meetups compared to a webinar is that a webinar, that you're just there to listen. I can listen on demand.
Yeah.
Whatever. I don't need to turn up. But for these meetups, you're not really, I don't know if Everstring are recording them and putting them out, but you're not, I think the intention is that you have to be there to get the value out of it, right?
Yeah.
And also for some of the other, where we've seen these smaller meetups, like it's on Zoom, it's not Zoom webinars, like actual Zoom, like everyone's there, gallery, like you can see everyone. It's not just the presenter. People can. It's kind of like what you would do as a round table, or like a small meetup in person, but online, which probably would increase your attendance rate actually, given that. Some in-person events people actually have to travel to. So having that skin in the game, like you mentioned, that they really want to turn up to get the value, because they can only get the value by turning up. And then it's for them to be able to network as well with their peers. Also, they can invite their peers as well. Like you talked about the customer side, but prospects equally beneficial, right? You can, at any stage of the funnel, again, this is great. Like you could have people that you're not very engaged with, top of funnel, and try and get them to come, get them to invite other people, and really get them to have that high level overview. And the topic could be something around education. there could be people at the other end of the funnel, which might be even better place to focus now, given that it's probably going to be harder to convince someone from who doesn't really know you, doesn't really see the value yet, to see the value and then buy, compared to people that are already seeing the value, maybe already open opportunities. It's probably going to be easier, obviously, to get them to buy in all times, but especially now, right?
Yeah.
So get them all around, talk about their challenges, and then it's keeping up with the Joneses, right? Like if one person's like, oh yeah, look, we're gonna buy this soon, then other people are like, oh yeah, maybe I should as well. Like hopefully people say that. It doesn't go the other way. If it goes the other way, you just pretend to have a Zoom cutout. But I'm not joking. But yeah, I think it definitely it can apply. All of this is like funnel agnostic, right? Like
yes,
you can be. It's not, you're not trying to target your movement from this stage. Like in some cases you are, but you're able to just apply this at any stage.
Totally.
Right?
I'm like so happy you said this, because I said it twice, and I summarized it with a client yesterday when we were talking about this, and I said I was giving them examples of these things, and I said, oh, this would actually work well across the funnel. And I was like, you know what? To be honest, if your idea can work across anywhere in the funnel, that's when you know you have a good idea, because that means that you're providing value. You're not just trying to sell something, or you not just have this motive for like an MQL or a conversion. You're actually thinking about what is going to engage someone
and provide value to them.
And provide value. And so, that's a little test, a mental test that you can say as you're creating content right now. And also just makes your job easier. Our teams aren't growing right now. So if you can have something that's that 1-2 punch, prospects, customers everywhere, that's great when you're lacking resources. So that's also just another benefit for that. So yeah, mental, exercise, creating ideas for your content or campaign ideas. If it fits across the funnel, you're onto the right track.
And then another one on that is market like you want to be marketed to,
exactly.
Right? Like if these ideas, if you're looking at LinkedIn and you're liking what people are doing, if you're listening to podcasts and listening to events that like kind of have multiple companies on there and liking that, and if you're liking the sound of like smaller events over some of this bigger stuff, then that's a good indication that maybe you should be trying that too. And I think the other thing that all of these things are as well is pretty low effort. I like to want to say low effort because that makes it sound bad in a way. Like people assume like the more effort, the more results, right? The harder I work on something, the better I'm going to do. But actually, I think the bang for buck, some of this stuff is way better than probably some of the stuff that a lot of companies are doing right now, because budget's low, right? You probably already have a Zoom account, just try and get people to turn up to that. People already have like, personal LinkedIn, people, you have a network that you can probably leverage to try and get your speaker in different platforms. None of this stuff really costs anything. It's just time, but not even a ton of time.
Planning. And I think that's a good point. And that's where I wanted to end with this, where I think with everyone, who's like, what can I do outside of like email or traditional content creation? Like it's, we're having fatigue. All that stuff that you're doing does take a lot of time. Writing an ebook takes a long time. Building the graphics on that takes a lot of time
and money.
Coming up
with a massive virtual event for 1,000 people.
Yes, and
not saying that's bad, but
no, but I think so. When you're thinking about making these changes, yes, it seems a bit scary, but just pull it back and say, okay, let's try out things. Let's experiment. Yeah, let's use that time that we would, having someone on your team right now sitting in front of a blank page to write a ton of nurture emails, like 11 emails in one sitting. We've all been there before. Oh shoot, I need to create all this. Oh shoot, I need to write a webinar. Oh shoot, I need to, do that. That all takes a lot of time. So now it's just, maybe a chance to just reinvigorate your team. We're all in a little bit of this like COVID slump right now. And so are your prospects. So what, it is the time to rethink things. And like you said, low effort, all it does take those some initial planning and strategy and putting the tools in place. And all this you can do with a remote team. And so, yeah, so if anything, this should just be inspiration, and hopefully those 3 ideas just, give all of you who are kind of scratching your head of what you should do when your email channel or traditional channels are fatigued, and, hopefully some good inspiration.
Yeah, I think that's it, right?
That's it.
All right. Well, good luck out there. Crazy times. Hopefully every day that goes past, we're a day closer to getting back to some state of normality. But
hopefully this becomes your new normal, just part of your new strategy. So if you do end up doing it, let me know. Hit me up on LinkedIn.
If you have any other ideas, let us know.
Yeah, would love to hear them. I'm always being asked each day, what are some cool ideas? So if you see any, share them with me and try it.
All right. Have a good week, everyone.
See you next time on Forward.
Forward it on. How's the coffee?
Huh?
How's your coffee?
Good.
All right. Jolly good.